on Dice Chatter, we make some terrain by cheating with our 3D printer. Don't get me wrong, I enjoy crafting terrain by hand with foam, cardboard, and a number of other resources, but sometimes printing out something you could never end up making by hand is also very enjoyable. So today we are going to work on this piece of terrain called the Burbling Pits from the company Printable Scenery. I have a number of printed terrain pieces I have purchased from them and have been happy with every print. They make some great 3D models that really pop on the gaming table. Speaking of gaming tables, I want to attempt to match this piece of terrain with one of the gaming mats I own. As you can see, the theme of this gaming mat is a dingy, gurgling, acidic, and desolate landscape. I will try to make this 3D print look similar to one of the pools of green ooze. So let us dive in. After I've cleaned up any wisps on the finished print, I went ahead and primed the model black. Once that is complete, we get started with the fun part, painting a pool of rot. Now with this project, I will be using cheap craft paint on a majority of the model. When I'm painting a terrain piece like this, I tend to use a very minimal amount of actual quality miniature paint, mainly because you tend to use a lot of it and it can be a little expensive. And cheap craft paint, like Apple Barrel, is, well, cheap. I also don't expect this terrain piece to have an ultra-realistic paint job or look like it has been done by a professional, mainly because it has definitely not been done by a painting pro. I'm a big believer in that the miniatures on your table should be the highlight of your wargame or RPG, not the scattered terrain placed on the table. But this does not mean we don't intend on making something look great. Now I could spend a number of hours attempting to sand down the layer lines shown on the model, but I personally don't find this an enjoyable process or one that really needs to be done. Cut corners when you want to cut corners on your projects. Just realize at the end if you are not happy with something due to the fact you wanted to finish the project faster, next time take the time to flush out those steps you skipped. While I continue painting up this bubbly rock, for those that are in the 3D printing game, I printed this model using my FlashForge Finder 3D printer. With a 20% fill density, my layer height was 0.27 millimeters and kept the nozzle moving at around 40 millimeters per second. For those who do not know what I am talking about, I apologize for making your brain hurt. For those of you who are looking to get a 3D printer for your tabletop games, I would highly suggest you go for it. 3D printers have significantly gone down in price where you can find a decent printer for under $250. The FlashForge Finder printer I have is a solid printer for a newcomer. In the future, I do have plans on upgrading though. Now back to the painting process. For about 90% of my terrain features, I focus on simple painting techniques. I make sure I have a solid base coat, then I tend to throw a wash over the entire piece. In the case of this burbling pit, I used a dark green wash for the bubbles and some black and brown washes for the rocks. And lastly, I do a bunch of dry brushing to highlight the model and make it pop. Here and there I may do some edge highlighting, but at the end of the day, the terrain piece is meant to be thrown around the table. It will get dinged up, so it doesn't need to be perfect. With a terrain piece like this, I want to make it a quick and easy project. I don't plan on taking more than an hour or so while painting up this piece. I enjoy doing quick projects like this because it gives you that extra little painting boost for all those other models you need to paint for your army. It keeps things moving for me and helps prevent that hobby burnout. I also forgot how long it takes craft paint to dry. The actual painting process only took about 30 to 45 minutes, but it was the dry time on everything that made this project take way longer than expected. When this happens, don't just sit there and watch the paint dry. Take some time to work on other sections of the model, or even transfer over to other painting projects. In the meantime, I got a lot of priming done on other miniatures. So there you have it, a completed burbling pit. I think it looks pretty good. For a terrain piece that was 3D printed at not the highest quality, it turned out pretty well. And for the amount of time taken to create this piece, in regards to the painting, it isn't anything to go crazy over or gawk at. It is a simple terrain piece. It will be used as its intended purpose and will not be examined up close enough to notice some of its faults. So in just a short amount of time, with minimal painting tricks and techniques, we have a terrain feature that will live on for a long time. I intend to get some use out of this piece and print some other variations in the future. I hope you all enjoy this video and decide to go out and do some 3D printing of your own. I want to thank you all for watching, and of course, happy gaming.